Hey there. Yeah, it's me back in the car. It's been a while since I've come to you like this. Let me move this just a little. There we go. And, when you live in a state like Montana where it would take you 11 hours to drive from one end of the state to the other. If you want to do things, you kind of got, a lot of times, you've got a lot of driving to do. So today I had to drive from our house in Livingston, which is north of Yellowstone Park, about 50 minutes, and head over to Billings, which is an hour and a half away. And that's just kind of a normal drive in a lot of ways. Yeah, I don't do it all the time, but for instance, in my teams that I've coached here at the high school level, our road trips, an hour and a half would be a short one. Our closest regular, I guess you'd say, opponent they're not even in our classification, but Big Timber is about 40 to 45 minutes away. And going the other way, in our classification for the years I was coaching, now they've moved up because they've gotten a lot bigger. It was Belgrade. They were about 40 minutes away, 45 away. But other than that, everything was over to here to Billings, hour and a half, and then 2.5 was the norm for others in our conference. And then we had Browning and Havre. Look on a map at Montana. Look where Livingston is, and then look where Browning and Havre are. They were each 6 hours away. 7 sometimes by bus in the winter, of course. And so we would go up to the one, play on Friday night, drive 2 hours and spend the night about an hour away from the other one, and play the other one on Saturday, Saturday afternoon, and then drive home the 6 hours. So it was like, anyway, it's just kind of how it is out here. And so that's why I often come to you from the road, because I spend my share of time behind the wheel of the car. I often am doing this when I'm out on the road speaking at schools. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about with you today. This right now, in the springtime, this is the time to be preparing for next year. This is the time that granted, any of you spring sport coaches, this is your time you're getting going. And then you summer coaches, this is the time you're getting going. Totally understand that. But for a lot of you who are fall and winter sport coaches, like right now, right back there, the state tournament for our Class C schools is going on this weekend in boys and girls basketball. And then the other classifications are happening elsewhere in the state. But this is a time where, especially those of you who are athletic directors and principals, this is when you need to start thinking about next year. And what are you going to start doing to create the best culture that you want in your programs? And there's a variety of ways to do that. And I hope you're investigating many of them. But you need to make sure that you're offering your coaches, and of course principals, also your teachers, but offering your coaches opportunities for professional development and coach education. I've been talking with people the last few weeks about a variety of things that are going on around my town, around me. But one of the topics that keeps coming up is how critical coach education is for creating the experience that we're trying to create for kids. All too often, whether it's in our little rec leagues in our town, the youth soccer association, the youth softball, the baseball, all of the different types, and then of course the school athletics, all too often we have coaches who are hired to coach teams. And when I say hired, of course, at the schools, yes, they are literally hired, go through a hiring process. But in these, rec leagues and things like that, it's whoever will volunteer and whoever wants to help. Basically, that's it. And they may have to go through background checks and things like that. I get it. But what kind of education are they being provided for, A, how to coach the sport, but B, and in my opinion, more importantly, how to coach, period, in general. How to deal with kids, how to set up practices, how to handle conflict and challenging situations, and all of that. What kind of education is happening? And unfortunately, I really believe far, far too many organizations, leagues, teams, schools, whatever, are just kind of not really covering that base in the way they need to be. And it's a critical mistake, because when you start looking at the problems that happen in youth and school sports, and the times that parents are upset, or kids are upset, or coaches are upset, whoever it is, there's some issue going on, and it happens a lot. It will so often come back to the way a coach handled the situation, in a situation where you go, well, why didn't he or she know that? And some people would say, well, wouldn't you just know that they would do it that way? Or they'd say, who taught them the way they did it? Or who didn't teach them the way we think it should have been taught? Or, well, how should that have been handled? And it's like, well, let's get someone in to help us explain what our philosophy is and what the way to handle whatever the situation is. We just don't have that happening. And so what happens is we are all acting from a reactionary type of standpoint where, this is going on, we have this complaint, we now need to deal with this, as to a proactive standpoint of, okay, let's get intentional about how we will handle these different situations as they come up. And how do you set up a practice, and how do you do your first meeting of the year, and how do you handle your awards night, and how all the different things that could be out there. And of course, you aren't going to get every single situation that could happen covered in one professional development, but it's a start. And most of the time, for instance, the proactive coaching, slam dunk success things that I do and that we do with proactive coaching, I mean, we will speak, normally it's a 3-hour time frame that we're at a school, sometimes more, but 3 hours is usually the minimum, unless it's a place that's close to our home. Then we'll do an hour on up. Well, 3 hours can get quite a bit of information, quite a bit of ideas, quite a bit of discussion going to help coaches, to help athletes, to help parents better understand how to navigate all that this is going to, all that's going to happen in this athletic experience. So make sure that you're doing something in terms of coach education. And it could be books and booklets. It could be videos. But of course, in my opinion, the best is personal, one-on-one, not one-on-one, but having a face-to-face, generally in-person presentation. Zoom, we do Zoom as well, but in-person presentations are always the best. They generate so many more questions, so much more discussion. So I highly recommend you check someone out, but of course, I would love it if you would check us out, me out. Okay, contact me, Scott at slamdunksuccess.com. Contact me at Scott at proactivecoaching.info, either one. Contact Rob at Proactive Coaching, Rob at proactivecoaching.info, and see about having one of us out to speak at your schools. Or if, like I say, if Zoom works better, we can set something like that up. But this is the time of year to start planning for next year. Our biggest time of the year is August. It's the start of schools and the start of fall sports, and we do a lot of preseason parent-athlete meetings in the evening after doing a couple of hours with coaches and sometimes with athletes during the day. So get in touch with me, get in touch with Rob, and we would love to come work with you and start you on a path toward coach education, or continue you on a path, for those of you who already do such things, to help you get even better at creating the culture you seek. We'll talk to you again next time.